To our Facebook Live for the elementary schools. I'm Christina Schaefer, principal at Millville Elementary.
I'm Jenny Chen-Remke, principal at the complex.
And we're here to answer any questions that you have regarding school reopening for both schools. Jill is here, Pilla Gallerani is here to answer or ask the questions that are being asked by our audience.
So, I mean, if you'd like, I can start with the first question that just came in.
Sure.
One of the questions was in regard to the school bus route. Is Leg Street still one of the stops? Because I can't find it on either Cohort Street.
So if it's for Millville, if you would look on the list from Dr. DeFalco yesterday that sent out, and any further questions, you can call the bus company and they can give you specific stops. And Jenny, do you want to do Blackstone?
Wait a minute. Say it again.
Where do you want the Blackstone families if they have questions about bus stops?
Yeah, you have to contact Townstone as well. Yeah.
Our next question that just came in, just pull it back up. It says, this is a parent of a MES student. And her question is, what qualifications do the subs and paras have? Are they certified teachers? Are they certified at all? Are they just helpers? And how many sub-certified teachers and paras do each classroom have?
So we don't have any teachers lay off. They all return back to school. And with some of the classroom that have over 20 students, that we have partner teachers, co-teaching with the teachers. And those partner teachers are either certified or have experience in the classroom.
And or also, we have a couple that are actually in their final stages of their programs for certification for elementary or early childhood education.
And again, the second part of that question, I know that was a large question. It just said, how many paras of it, how many sub-certified teachers and paras does each classroom have? Which I know it's a little bit different, but if you want to talk about.
Yes, so at Millville Elementary, we have 2 kindergarten classes that have sizes over 20. So they each have a partner teacher. And in grade 2, we have a classroom with over 20, in grade 3 as well. And they both have partner teachers. And that's it for the homeroom teachers. We also have hybrid teachers. And the hybrid teachers are certified teachers. We do have some teachers that were hired that have certifications in another state, but they are in the process of taking the test for Massachusetts. So and paraprofessionals, we have, one at in kindergarten, 1 in each classroom. So there's 5 total paraprofessionals for kindergarten, as well as there are special education paraprofessionals to support those students' IEP needs.
So for Blackstone, grade 1, we have 2 classrooms that have partner teachers. And grade 2, we have 2 classrooms with partner teachers. Grade 3, we have also 2 classrooms with partner teachers. And grade 4 and 5 are hybrid. So there's no partner teachers, but we have a hybrid teachers teaching social study and science doing the online remote part, the remote part of the hybrid.
Okay. So if that parent who sent in that question needs a follow-up, feel free to send that in. The next question is, when will parents find out, know about the Boys and Girls Club for hybrid?
So actually, I spoke with Dr. DeFalco today. By the end of this week or early next week, there are limited spots in the Boys and Girls Club for those students on hybrid. So there will be a selection process, and we will fill the students and notify families as well.
The next question is, my children this semester will be remote. For the next semester, it could change to in person. So I know based on the decision.
Based on Dr. DeFalco's email, that we ask parents to stick with the model that they chose for 30 days, and after 30 days, we can reassess, and they can make changes then.
Another question came in. Are the virtual meetings with teachers for parents, students, or both?
I guess my first question is it for the orientation meetings? If it's the orientation meetings, obviously parents and students can be part of that. And if it's for the classroom lessons, the students should be obviously part of the lesson.
So, yep. So in addition, just to build on that, we want the kids to come to the online virtual orientation because we want the children to see their teachers without a mask. So that will be the great opportunity for them to meet their teachers online, seeing their face. And I know one of the questions asking when they're gonna get the link. We'll be sending out the links either tomorrow or Friday. We're waiting for teachers to send us all their links.
Here's a great question. What exactly is a partner teacher?
So a partner teacher is a teacher that is matched up with a homeroom teacher. We call them teachers of record. So they are responsible for this. They are held. Their information is held by the state, reported to the state as the teacher of record. Sorry, and they will assist, and it could be teaching science and social studies. They could be doing some interventions. Some teachers are actually streaming their lesson between the two classrooms. So they're supporting the students in the other classroom. So it's taking a lot of shapes in Millville. Jenny?
So it's similar to Millville. So if you think about English and math, those subjects are double blocked. So the classroom teacher, or you call it the teacher of record, might be doing a lesson, and then the kids will be doing independent practice. So the partner teachers will be supporting the students in the other group. And we're not going to state that classroom teachers will not just stay in one group. The teacher of record will kind of, rotate back and forth to two groups, because we want to make sure that, not one group is getting all the instruction in person, but the other one is just watching online. But like Mrs. Shaver said, that the partner teachers will also teach social study and science.
And one other piece is that, the partner teachers and the homeroom teachers will obviously do some planning together, and the partner teachers and the homeroom teachers will be doing the switching, not the students. So that way it'll eliminate the disinfecting and the cross-contamination, by crossing groups.
So Christina, I guess this question will be for you, since our kindergarten population is now in Millville. It says, could you please elaborate on the kindergarten class setup and how many students per class?
So as I had mentioned just a little bit earlier, there are 2 classrooms with over 20 students. I think there's 25 or 26 as of today. We do have some late registrations, so it did change the number today. So I think we're at about 25 today. And those teachers both have a partner teacher. So there would be about 12 or 13 students in each class. And the other classrooms have 15 that have just the teacher and the classroom paraprofessional.
For the remote days, will the classes be recorded to look back as review, or if something is missed for parents to check?
We haven't discussed that yet. That would be something that we should be discussing. We can get back to you after our discussion.
Next question is, for the 5th grade, what happens if a student misses a day of in-person learning because of illness, quarantine, or other? I believe all ELA and math is in person and all science and socials are remote. Will my child end up duplicating remote lessons?
So there is time built in on the remote days for the students to actually, if they need interventions or extensions or whatever, to meet with the hybrid teacher to get some support. So they can provide some support with the ELA and the math. So if there is a student that, has missed some days that we feel that they need to be sat one-on-one or in a small group, we can definitely make that possible.
So when they're in person, they have a lot more in person, like more direct instruction and less application, meaning practices. So during remote time, there's a lot of application going on, and half of the day, so it's like about a little over about 2 hours and 15 minutes that they would do those math and ELA applications and independently, and we have a remote teachers available to support them. And while other students will be receiving direct instruction for science and social study. But if your child is absent for a day in person, it's no different than your child's absent pre-COVID. So we would, again, you need to notify us and contact the teachers to, ask for support, or if they have, the teachers can make sure that we can, catch up your child with that lesson.
I think we may have answered this in another question, but this is a family. The question is, they live in Blackstone, are confused with which school the child who's going into kindergarten will be at. They mentioned JFK or AFM. So Christina, I can tell, if you want to answer it, it actually is neither one of those, but if you want to explain where the entire kindergarten in both towns are going.
Mm-hmm. So all of students in kindergarten are coming to Millville Elementary School. This is because, with the partner classes and some of the extra rooms needed, we had to use some of the complex space for that. So they are coming over to Millville because we had extra space here.
So how is a parent able to drop off at the complex and then get to Millville to drop kindergarten student if both schools start at 8:45?
So in planning some of the schedules, the kindergarten classes were given some leeway in either a special or, doing some interventions or enrichments during that time. So we are allowing for that, and we are acknowledging the fact that parents are going to have to drop off at the JFK AFM complex, as well as bring students to Millville. So we definitely have allotted for that and are aware of that, as well as the kindergarten teachers all know that their students will potentially be a couple minutes late.
So then you're recommending that the parent drop off their child first at the complex?
Yes, yes.
Is the parent, and this is, I guess, for both of you, is the parent pickup drop off operating the same as it previously has? Because this parent mentioned there was some discussion about a possible staggered times and wasn't sure if they missed any follow-ups on that.
So at the complex, it's the same as I said in my video. You can actually access the video again. It's in Dr. DeFalco's email sent out last night. And we don't have staggering time because in the past, the parent drop off, we had over 200 students. But this year we had less than 100. So there is no need to do staggering time. The only thing we change is drop off time. Instead of 8:30, it would be 8:45 because we are not able to hold the student in a hallway with 90, with a large amount of students with 6 feet apart.
And for Millville Elementary, we do have a slight change this year because we have, as I said in my video as well, and again, that can be accessed through the email sent by Dr. DeFalco yesterday. We have a giant hole in the side of our school where we're going to have a new boiler system put in. So it's exciting because we're going to have an efficient energy system now. But for the meanwhile, we are going to be doing all K-5 parent drop off and pickup in the front loop. So we are asking that parents just pull up to the front and wait for a staff member to get their child out of, or point to their child to come out of the car. And then if you are up to the end of the front loop, we're asking that parents pull through the front parking lot and around, and there will be staff and people available to help you understand where to go. And we may also be shuffling buses in there as well. So we're trying our best to get everybody in that one area, but unfortunately with the back part of the school being closed, we can't access that. As far as preschool parent drop off and pickup will be along the side of the building. So if you go past the front loop, and again, if you are coming because preschool drop off is at 9, please be mindful that if you see a bus stop sign out, that you do not pass the bus stop sign because that is a fine. So you don't want to do that because A, for the safety of our students, and B, you'll get a fine. And if you go around the side of the school, If you're looking at Millville Elementary School from the front of it, you go into the left side of it, there's another set of doors, and the preschool staff will be there to get the students and help them get out of the car and come on in the rooms.
Thank you. Is there a day and or time that parents can drop off supplies for their children so they don't have to carry all of it in with them in their bags on the first day of school?
For Millville Elementary, actually, I had this question earlier today. If we typically ask students to bring them to with them on the first day of school, and if you need to stagger it, you can stagger bringing the most needed items in. And I know a lot of teachers gave the supply list for the entire year, and they only need certain things on the first couple days of school. So if your child's teacher doesn't tell you that in their welcome letter, you may want to follow up with them and just ask what exactly is needed. And if it's a real dire need and you're unable to, just reach out to the school and we will work with you to see if we can do to meet your needs.
So I think the orientation, online orientation next week will be a good time to ask the teachers things that they must bring into school.
Thank you. So Christina, we have a couple of kindergarten questions. What will recess look like for kindergarten this year?
So we are actually going to section off our field and our hard top once the construction project is done. So there'll be several sections for the class, the cohort class to stay in, and they'll rotate. So you'll be in a section for a week. And the plan is to rotate through the sections for the kids to do at recess, for the kids to have that time at recess, to at least get some fresh air, run around in circles, whatever they want to do. But just to get that fresh air and get some energy out.
And the next kindergarten question, I think, again, just for clarification, I think we all know now that all of Millville is kindergarten, but the question is, are the teachers from JFK who used to teach kindergarten moving over, to come over to Millville?
Yes, so the teachers that used to teach at the JFK complex are at Millville, and they have their own spaces here and they have the materials brought here. So they are ready to go and ready to see those kiddos, kindergarten kiddos.
Great. Christina, again, the next question was for you, but I think that it has to do with someone asking a question about their grandson, asking about how many children will be in the class. So I'm just going to ask that person to reach out to you directly.
Yes.
So you're able to answer that for them. The next question is, which I think we kind of answered, and it's what supplies should be kept at home and which ones should be sent to school for hybrid students? Are they allowed to bring materials back and forth?
So I know for the list that came from, and actually we have the same grade 4 list, and I think our grade 5 list might be a little bit different, but I know the teachers did write on the list from Millville that the students should be bringing many of the supplies back and forth because they will be sharing a desk.
Again, I would refer, for next week online orientation, that to ask teachers those questions.
The next question is, when will Chromebooks be available?
Can we refer that to, is Mr. Answorth here?
I am on the line. So that actually depends on the grade level. We are waiting for a shipment of Chromebooks to come in. We have 150 that are scheduled to come in within the next couple of days. And then we have the remainder of 500 Chromebooks that will be coming in shortly thereafter. Our priority is going to be those students that are remote. In fact, if you haven't received it already this evening, if you marked off that your child is intending to be remote, you'll get a survey asking whether or not you need access to a district device. So we will target the remote students first to make sure that they have Chromebooks for the beginning of the year. And then shortly thereafter, there will be Chromebooks distributed to other students. The grades, a lot of the elementary grades already have Chromebooks present in the classrooms. So as students are coming in for their in-person learning, they will have access to the Chromebooks. It's just a matter of ensuring that all of those students have Chromebooks when they are remote as well. And there's been a pretty significant Chromebook shortage across the country. So we are lucky right now that we are expecting them to come in very, very soon.
Thank you. And I know there were some follow-up questions to that, but I think you answered that. It was just, are they still available? When are younger students getting them, fourth and fifth graders? But I do think you answered that. Our next question is, when will more information for preschool students become available?
So the preschool, actually, one of the teachers she just sent an email out. So I know that went out. And tomorrow we are asking that staff. We had a little database problem today. So we have to have staff send out their welcome letters tomorrow. They should be out by the very end of the week. And they will have that information in there, as well as the preschool staff does have an orientation. And off the top of my head, I think it's at 12 o'clock on Monday. So there will be a link for that for each teacher, but that information, it is the 14th at 12 o'clock.
So this has to do with remote learning days. Are the students doing online work for the 6 hours on remote days, or are the remote days handled the same way they were last year in the spring?
So the children are not really online for 6 hours if you take away the lunchtime, half an hour, 25 minutes, and then half an hour recess. So and then they have 50 minutes for special. So if you subtract that, it will be about a little over 4 hours. And it is not going to be as same as last year, because last year we have selected standards that, what they call it, power standards sent by the state that we have to fulfill. But this year we have standards that we have to cover. So the instruction will be a lot more intense and a lot, more to, to meet the expectations. So what I can give you an example of an instruction would be, if we have a math lesson, a teacher will do like a lesson, say for 20, every lesson is different, the length is different, say 20 minutes. And then they might do a problem on their own and then come back as a whole class and go over the problem. And teacher might assign independent practice for another 20 minutes, 25 minutes. However, when they're doing independent practice, teachers might ask students to shut off your camera, and when you're done, turn on your camera, but the teachers will be online to support any students if they have any questions. So that is kind of like a quick, overview of a lesson, what it looked like. So same for ELA, and same for social study, and same for science.
And there may be some small group instruction during those times too. So the teacher may pull a small group and have the other kids work on something independently. As well, the attendance will be taken this time. Attendance was taken informally, but we will be recording attendance, and there will be grades this time. Unlike the spring, it was credit and no credit. There will be grades following our report card at the elementary level.
So this question is about orientation. It's specifically for first graders, but I guess you could answer this for all grades. It was for the orientation with the teacher. Will they get to see, how their classroom's set up, and get an overview of what the class will be like before they actually, come to school in person?
So all orientations are online. If you watch our videos, we did show a sample of a classroom. And unfortunately, all the classrooms are setting up the same way, 6 feet apart. So it's not, besides decoration, teachers, decorate their classrooms. Other than that, the setup of all classrooms are the same.
And some teachers may actually show their classroom during their orientation. That's definitely encouraged. Mm-hmm. We did mention that to some of them. So it is encouraged that they show the kids the classroom to kind of give them the sense of what it's their personal spaces for their year.
So Christina, some more kindergarten questions. Will all of the kindergarten, say 25, ever be together at once, or will they remain separate in small cohorts?
For recess, the group of 25 will be outside together, as well as lunch area. The lunch, so that I may as well explain the lunch while I'm doing that as well. there are no more than about 42 kids at lunch, but they're going to be sectioned by their class, and they're all facing the same way, which is one of the DESE protocols, is that all the students are facing the same direction, and then we will be disinfecting between that. So to go back to that question of the cohorts, they are going to be outside, potentially even for PE, when they go outside for PE. So that is a possibility.
And you did touch upon recess, what it would look like. You know, the parents just said they were just concerned about their child not having enough exercise or social interaction. So I didn't know if you just wanted to kind of touch upon, again, social interaction is going to look, a little different this year.
Mm-hmm. I know Mr. Eisenberg for sure is definitely planning on taking the kids out, and I'm sure Mrs. Thompson is planning on doing the same, because I think they obviously agree and they feel that the kids should be active as well. So, well, it's nice out, and obviously we can't control the rain and all that stuff, but when it's the weather permits, we are going to keep the kids out as much as possible, even during the day. We are encouraging the staff to take the kids outside. We do have tents outside for, we will have tents set up outside for the outside learning spaces. So we are encouraging them to get up and out of the classroom. So there's a little bit of a change of scenery.
And this one, I'll send Jenny's way, because I know, Christina, you talked about recess. This was more about, it was a 5th grade parents from AFM who asked about recess. But their question is, will the children be able to play with their classmates outside, or do they have to remain 6 feet apart?
They would have to remain distant. We need to be creative, what they can do outside, but they do need to remain distant. So it might be doing some running on the track, not track, the path.
And one other thing I actually read on one of the principal pages I'm on is that their kids were playing shadow tag. So the kids were running around in their recess, and they were tagging the shadow of somebody else. So that's another creative way to have fun at recess and play with your friends, but still keep socially distanced.
We do need to brainstorm some ideas of games that they can play, but keep the distance.
So this is another kindergarten question, and it could have been someone who logged on a little later, but it says, are only kindergartners from Blackstone attending MES? But Christina, I think you answered that. All kids from Blackstone and Millville
Yes.
are attending.
And there are some students from Blackstone that do attend our pre-K program.
Yes.
So we do have Blackstone students for pre-K as well as kindergarten.
This is about screen time. So how much screen time will my 3rd grader at MES have while in-person school? And it says, will they be able to write in their math booklets versus complete the online version?
So for in-person, there may be some screen time in there because there are going to be some things that they may be watching on their own or accessing, such as, for example, our reading program has the readers online. So we may be encouraging that as well, but they will have the math workbooks, they will have the reading workbooks. So they do have all that stuff available in the classrooms.
Okay. So they'll have the Chromebook, but they'll also be able to, because the next question said they're actually will have books or paper, like be able to write on things as well as the Chromebook, correct?
We do encourage teachers to pass out all the Envision's consumable, because we do believe, at this age, very young age, they do need to pick up their pencil to write, to do their math problem. So student will be giving Envision consumable.
Okay. I think we answered this, the procedures for drop off and pickup at the complex.
But can I add to the to the pickup? Pickup is the same. JFK will be at Mendon Road, and AFM will be in the back of AFM building. Any students that have AFM student have sibling at JFK, they will walk over to JFK with their sibling and get picked up at JFK. But what we're changing this year is we ask parents not to leave their vehicle. We had practiced that before last spring. You pull up your vehicle with a piece of paper with your child's name on it, and then you put on the window, and the teacher, we will have enough staff there to, look at your sign and then get your child to your car for you.
Another question, I think this kind of went with the Chromebook. if things change and we go fully remote, will kids in grade K get Chromebooks? So again, we're looking to get Chromebooks in, I think at for that, so, okay. In regards to a remote day, part of the question was about screen time, which I know you answered. How much screen time is expected for fourth graders, including class instruction and schoolwork. But the other question was, how many times a day are students expected to attend remote instruction?
So for remote instruction, they're going to have a full school day on the computer. So there is going to be a staff member there, so they should be available, ready to log in from 8:45 to 3:15, which is our 3:05 is our school day. So the times may change and the amount of time may change depending on the lesson, but the teachers will have a consistent schedule. So, for math, or if we're doing the full remote kids, the math and ELA would be different, and versus the hybrid kids will be science and social studies plus some interventions.
But as I mentioned before, within that school day, the structures would be different for each subject. There are some direct instruction and there are some individual practices.
One question has to do with social emotional, and it says, what kinds of things are teachers and staff going to be doing to transition back to school socially, emotionally after 6 months? And I guess if you also want to respond to what are we doing to support kids as they come in now, as well as, I guess, along the way.
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
It says, what kinds of things are teachers and staff going to be doing to transition back to school socially, emotionally after 6 months out? But I'm sure that someone may have a question, how are we starting the year with that social emotional learning as well as beyond 6 months?
So we all know that students have, we know that they have gaps because they've been out of school since March. So the discussion topics we've been talking about is, how do we assess students? When they come in, we want to spend the month of September, make sure we assess all students, whether they're in person or remote. And so we have the baseline. And we have reading interventionists, we have adjustment counselors to support students both academically and socially. So when they come in, really thinking about the baseline for, academically and also socially. This week, actually, we have a couple of students with some concerns that, the high needs student came in and did individual tours. And if you feel that your child really need that individual tour, please contact the school and we will arrange that for you.
And also this week, over these 10 days so far of PD that we've had, we actually have had some SEL training for our staff. So all staff have been trained by our district SEL team. And then we've also done some building-based SEL stuff. So the elementary level was together, and then the middle school and the high school were together. So we were able to train some staff, give them some suggestions, help build their toolboxes for some FCL, and provide some resources and books and videos for them to share with their students and use with their students.
Someone did ask about, again, the types of activities at recess, and I know we kind of responded to that a little bit. We're still exploring some more. One question has to do about specials. So are students going to be moving to their specials, or will those teachers be going into the classroom wondering about for movement breaks?
So unless the teacher is choosing to go outside with them, all specialists will be in the classroom. PE, like we said earlier, may be going outside, obviously depending on the weather. We are encouraging staff to use as much outside classroom space as we can. So that's for the MES side.
We have outdoor classroom space, and we met with special teachers, and they will be utilizing the outdoor space as much as possible.
The next question, and I do believe this is in the information that was sent to parents with all the information that was sent regarding the opening. But the question was, is there a protocol or designated isolation for students or staff who have multiple symptoms that may be perceived as possible positive case? And we do. We have all the policies and procedures in the manuals that were sent to all of our parents. If anyone has any specific questions, I'm sure they can reach out to our lead nurse, Karen Young.
And
Uh,
also in our videos, we showed our isolation rooms for anybody that staff or students that do experience COVID symptoms.
Has it been formally decided that a neck face gaiters, are they okay to wear or no?
I don't know that it's been formally decided.
I thought we had a discussion that is not, we can't wear those. Maybe Matt can address that.
So certainly. So at this point in time, we are being advised that those gaiter neck masks are not effective. Our lead nurse has advised us that all masks that are worn need to cover both the nose and grip firmly under an individual's chin. So based on the structure of those masks, we will ask students to put on a different mask that connects underneath their chin and covers their nose fully.
And Matt, while you're on, I guess this next question could be something for you. It has to do with busing. It says, are there going to be bus passes before the first day of school? Is this something that is still happening?
Oh,
So that,
I'm
I
not
know
sure.
what that is.
Okay.
I know what that is. In Millville, we used to hand out bus tickets in the morning. Obviously we're not gonna be able to do that because we can't pass the papers. So it was like a laminated paper that said like M1, M2, M3, M4. So we will have to come up with another format to just verify the busing.
there was actually, thank you for that piece of it, Christina. There was conversation during one of the meetings about putting out bus passes for all students that were on the bus. That has not been determined yet or finalized. We are still considering it, but it hasn't been finalized. If the district decides that we are not going to go in the direction of bus passes, then it would just be business as usual with respect to the buses. We have been making as many accommodations as possible for people that have called with changes or looking for adding their students to the buses. At this point, we're asking to not put any changes in. Dr. DeFalco sent out a message regarding that, but we may not really need the bus passes. We're still deciding.
So this question, how will students how will situations where kids, and specifically this parent was asking about kindergarten, but I guess we could look at this across the entire elementary. When students don't socially distance themselves or pull their mask down or off, they're saying, I'm sure it will be tough for kids at first.
So obviously this is a learning curve for all kids. So we are just going to keep reinforcing and just teaching, which is what we're here to do. Teaching the students how to properly wear their masks, how to properly socially distance. It is definitely going to be a learning curve. And with the kindergarten classrooms, we do have a paraprofessional and classroom teacher available to assist in that as well.
So for the older students, I just want to say that it is expected they keep their masks on, and we have to keep everyone safe. So if a child refused to wear a mask, we would have to contact the parents to pick that child up.
And there will be mask breaks throughout the day. So students will have that time to take their masks off, but they will be, expected to wear it from the time they get on the bus till the time they go home.
This mentioned the video at MES, but I'm sure this could be a question for the complex too, about the lunch. It was mentioned that lunches would be grab and go, but are students still able to bring their lunches?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Sorry, I should have clarified that. Students are still able to bring their lunches. I just meant grab and go so that they weren't waiting in the line like they have in the past for their hot lunch to be scooped on their tray. It's going to be prepped, ready to go for them. And you can still bring your lunch.
Another question is, if a family is a student is starting remote and choose to go into school in person, say come November or when that change is, how will that work?
I don't think we don't have the detail yet. It will be the same process that what we're doing now, scheduling kids to come in, regrouping.
The next question, we answered this. What will the protocol be when students become ill with COVID? And I know that is in the information that was sent home to families. And again, Karen Young, our lead nurse, if anyone needs some more clarification. The next question is for students who are remote and they have an IEP or a 504 plan, how is that going to work?
So for IEPs, the special education teachers will be still servicing the students, providing services that are on their IEP. They will be reaching out to families to just develop the plans and all of that. And for 504s, the accommodations, obviously things that we can do from school, from home, or separate, can be done. Obviously, specialized seating or other seating, things that can't be done on our end wouldn't be able to happen. So anything that is able to happen would happen.
So what I would suggest is to contact either myself or Mrs. Shaver. If your child has a 504, has chosen remote learning, then we might need to modify the 504 to accommodate your child.
And I'll just ask families just to reach out if you have any questions about your IEPs. I think I mentioned before in a couple of other meetings that your special ed teacher, the liaison, will be reaching out to you to talk about how or if remote learning will look a little bit different. So those phone calls will be coming. For our remote learning students, will they be getting materials, books such as math, social studies to have at home as far as the curriculum goes to be able to refer?
Mm-hmm. You want me to answer? Well, remote student, if they receive, you're saying that if they will receive the textbooks?
Yep, there are a couple of questions, like if there's materials, will those be sent home for the students to access, whether they're textbooks, workbooks, things like that?
Yeah. So had I mentioned before, we will be passing out the consumables for Envisions, and also there are consumables for our new program Wonders. So student will have the actual books to take home.
And you just answered the next question. One thing again about drop off and pickup, it mentions, is there no sign out or show ID for pickups?
As far as like pick up early, or I guess, so if it's a normal pickup, we always check IDs, especially at the beginning of the year, because we always keep the same staff outside. So at the beginning of the year, if we don't know parents, we always check IDs to make sure that they're okay to pick up. And as far as picking up during the school day, parents should come to the front door, ring the doorbell, and then Mrs. Stearman or myself will be at the door for them to be able to sign their child out at that time.
And same thing, if they're going to be late to school, they should do that as well, correct?
They should walk their child to the door. We don't just drop them off at the curb. Parents should be walking their child to the door, ring the doorbell, make sure that Mrs. Stearman, myself, or another staff member is able to receive them, and then we will get them in the building. But we're just basically going to be letting students in the building.
Someone specifically asked us about MES, and I'm not sure if it impacts the complex as well. It says there's an addition of a third lunch period at MES. And does this impact lunch times? I guess maybe the amount of time the students are getting for lunch?
Yes, so the students still have 25 minutes like they had last year. And there actually are 5 lunches. So there's 3 in the cafeteria and 2 in the gymnasium. So we will be having staggered lunches with 5 minutes in between to be able to disinfect the areas. And it actually works that the students will not be sitting in the same seat as the previous lunch before them. So we're able to figure that out in the cafeteria. In the gymnasium, there will be a couple cafeteria tables as well as some desks. So those will be disinfected between each lunch. So it does impact the times a little bit. Sorry.
At the complex, the lunches did not change. We are able to use the AFM cafeteria, AFM gym, JFK cafeteria, and JFK gym to accommodate our students.
And I can quickly, the homeroom teachers can talk about the specific times for each grade, but our first lunch starts at 11:15, and our last lunch starts at 12:15. So they're not very far off at all from what they were last year. And the homeroom teachers can tell you specifically for your specific child's class during the orientation.
So the next question talks a little bit again about social emotional learning, but it's a little bit more specific about how are we as a school guidance working with the classes on the new protocols to help them adjust. Because, you know, they mentioned that spring Zoom classes kind of went from excitement to when they couldn't be with their kids anymore, it kind of changed a little bit. So how are we helping them adjust to kind of the new protocols?
So our adjustment counselors do teach a special as a special class. So at the beginning of the year, they will teach each classroom and go over protocol with them, and also assessing their status, their mental status, to make sure they're ready to come to school, and go over any clarify any misconception they have. I don't know. I know MES is a little different, but I know they push in.
No,
So-
we're actually doing it as a special this year.
Yeah.
So we are doing the same thing as the complex.
The adjustment counselor will see all the kids in the classroom.
Will there be 5th grade band at the complex this year?
Yes, it will be very different at the complex. Our 5th grade band will be all remote.
Someone brought up that their daughter is doing remote, and she mentioned, do the parents of students doing the remote learning need to let the school know? I'm assuming we already know.
They should have received an email last night from either Jenny or myself for saying that they were remote and who their teacher was. So if they didn't receive something, they should be contacting the school, because we also said who was in person and who their teacher was.
Right. I noticed that I received quite a few emails today, and I did ask parents either check the email and make sure it's not in their spam folder, or we double check on X2 and make sure we have the correct email.
A couple of preschool questions, Christina. Who would be the best person to contact for preschool related questions if we have more questions that were responded to tonight? That's the first one. And the second one is, will there be snack time for pre-K? And if so, will the teachers help with removing and putting masks back on if needed?
So as far as the first question, if you have any more specific questions, you can either contact your child's teacher or the school. Some of the questions may be answered during the virtual orientation, so you may want to wait till those. But if they're more significant, you can feel free to contact the school and we can support you there. And as far as snacks, they will have snacks. And as far as the teachers helping them with masks, we do ask that you practice that with your child. But if a child really needs support, we can assist them. But you should be, at home practicing with your child on how to take off a mask and put it on, because we really want to eliminate the number of people touching each other as much as possible.
The next question, I'm going to ask this family to reach out to you directly, Christina, because it's very specific to them regarding a doctor's recommendation to continue with speech therapy, is speech therapy offered at MES. That may be a question that the family may want to reach out directly to have that responded to. It says, I see the pickup bus schedule. When will the drop-off bus schedule be out? Are there?
Matt, I don't think we typically send one, but maybe Mr. Aronworth can help. I don't think we typically have.
I apologize. I was trying to unmute. There has not been a drop-off schedule. Traditionally, it goes approximately in the reverse of the pickup schedule. But I can discuss that further with Telstones, and we can see if we can put together something a little more specific. However, given the times of the end of the day, that the schools let out, we there's going to be some delays for kids getting onto the bus, especially in the beginning with these new procedures. That's one of the reasons why the initial drop-off times were not put out.
I do actually want to add to that. If you're the first week or so, your child is home later than you think, don't panic quite yet, because sometimes it takes us a little bit, especially I can speak for MES with the front loop where we're going to be doing pickup and drop off at the same place for cars and buses. It may take us a little bit to get in the groove, and once we get in the groove, we'll be fine. But please don't panic if your child's 5 or 10 minutes late that first couple of days. But if it's longer than that, feel free to call the school. Mrs. Stammerin would be happy to, assist you with any worries and kind of check on the status of the buses if needed.
So Christina, another kindergarten question. The parent was saying, can you give me an example of when kindergarten would go fully remote? If the entire school closes, would that be the only time that it would happen?
At this point, I would say so. Matt, maybe you could support that as well.
That is the correct answer. The only time that any entire grade or school would go remote is that the school is shut down, either because of some type of an outbreak or determination from the governor that we're going back into a lockdown situation.
Christina, are preschoolers required to wear masks?
Yes, we are expecting, even though the state says that students second grade and up are the ones that need to wear masks, we are expecting that all students wear masks when they are at Millville Elementary School and actually in the district. So all students in our schools should be wearing a mask when they come to school.
For both of you, are water bottles allowed in school? Can students bring their own water bottles?
We encourage them to bring their water bottle because the water fountains are not being used this year. We'll be covering those.
And in Millville, we've never used water fountains, so they should be bringing water as well.
For lunch, is there any cost associated with grab and go lunch, or is it served to all students without cost?
I would refer that to Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. So at this point in time, through December 30th, the federal government has given a waiver that will allow everyone to receive grab and go lunch, and that will be at no charge to the students. People hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very slowly, but we heard you. For both of you, how are the remote children going to have gym, music, or art?
So we have to be creative with those specials. We actually spoke to the special teachers today, had a conversation. Is all obviously it's all online, and they will be modifying their lessons to accommodate children that are doing remote. We did, the district did approve a music program, online music program instruction. I'm excited to see that, what brings us.
The next question is, in the COVID handbook that was released, it states that the parents need to fill out a form regarding symptoms. Are those forms going to be sent home on the first day? I'm assuming they're talking about the community form agreement. Matt, would you like to respond to that?
Sure. So that is an electronic form that will be distributed to all families. And it is not something that everyone will need to turn in every day. It's a form that we ask that parents agree to sign, that they're checking the form on a daily basis. And the form will include a checklist of symptoms to know when to keep your child home. But again, as Jill mentioned, there is a community agreement that we ask all of the families to sign. And in that agreement, it states that you'll check that form on a daily basis, that you'll review those symptoms, and that you'll make sure that we're keeping everybody else safe and keeping our kids home if we need to.
For both of you, when should parents be dropping off like medications or EpiPens?
I would say anytime now. If they need to chop it off, because we're here. And our nurses have returned.
And I, obviously just making, if you feel better to call the school first, just to make sure that, we are available to accept it. But definitely now is a good time.
Let's see, the next question, the parent just mentioned that, this year volunteers in school is something that we're not offering just because we're limiting the contact, but it says completely understandable. But if a parent wants to do so, how can they help the students or the school district emotionally, physically, or financially? I think parents, although they can't be there in person, they'd like to still be a part and try to help out. So any suggestions on how you feel they can do that, or would you like them to reach out to you directly?
Why don't you reach out to us directly?
Right.
If a child has a doctor's appointment and is not able to attend school and is doing full remote, would a call to the office, they would need to still make a call to the office to let them be aware that the student is not going to be participating remotely that day, correct?
Correct.
Let's see. Someone said, I may have missed
Jill,
it.
to that point,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to jump in. Just to that point, parents should know that attendance is being taken on a regular basis, and that attendance is being taken for students that are physically present in person and students that are remote. So they do need to make sure that they're communicating, because the attendance counts and gets reported to the Department of Ed.
Okay, we only have a few minutes. I think we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to try to get through as many questions as I can. The next person said, I might have missed it, but will the remote students have to pick up textbooks and the school books before school starts?
We'll make the arrangement. It might not be right before, it might be right before school start, or, during the first week of school.
Okay.
Remember, we don't want, like a question asked before, kids have been out of school since March. We don't want them to come in and say, have these students just go right, pick up where they left off in March. We want to start slow and transition all the kids back into school, so that, passing out textbooks might happen the first couple of days of school.
And also the fact that, it also looked very differently. So even those students that are remote, the school day is going to look different, because our school day was 2.5 hours last spring, and it's going to be a school day. They're going to be expected for a school day's worth of learning. So we're going to need to slowly transition them back into that.
And there's a couple of parents asking again about those what was that? There was a question before. Oh, I'm sorry, it was the flu shots. Should we refer that to the head nurse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's still a requirement to return to school.
there's a question here, Christina, about a preschool parent has a specific question about the medical needs of her child with an option of virtual, and who should she contact? So I'm just going to recommend that she reach out directly.
Yep,
to
me.
Let's see. How often will mass breaks be, and how will they happen?
So we leave it up to the teachers because they know their students. They are the one that in the classroom with the students. If they feel like they need to take the mass break, they need to take the mass break. It will be as frequent as needed.
Let's see. Again, a couple more questions. Should remote students log on to Google Classroom for the first day of school?
I feel that they should. The teachers, I mean, obviously we're going to, as Dr. Remke had said, that we are going to slowly get back into the routine. So it's not going to be, all right, everybody, you've got all this work to do today. So they should be logging in. The teachers are actually starting to send them Google Classroom invites. So they obviously don't have to be accepted until the first day, but if kids are anxious and want to get in, the teachers have started sending some Google Classroom invites.
So I have the last two questions in our last minute here. Someone was saying, was just double checking about the grades and what buildings they'll be in. So if we just want to kind of clarify what grades from what town from both of you will be in which buildings.
So at Millville, we will have preschool from both towns, kindergarten from both Blackstone and Millville. Millville only, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade.
So at Blackstone is grade 1 to 5.
Of all the students who live in Blackstone. Yep. So, and our last question for the evening, because it's just 6 o'clock. If a child that is learning hybrid is homesick with a common cold, is there an option to join remote for that day?
I think, so if, I guess my question is if they're normally like a fourth or fifth grader.
They're normally, say, a hybrid, and their day was supposed to be an in-person day, but they happen to be homesick. Would they have the option to participate in remote that day, or would it just be considered an in-person?
It will be considered as absent because the remote is a different.
Okay. And I think we just pretty much got through all of our questions. I would just recommend that if anyone has any additional questions or your question wasn't answered today, to please feel free to reach out to Jenny or Christina individually. And for those who, had more personal questions that they asked, again, I would encourage you to reach out, to them directly. Christina and Jenny, any closing words before we sign off?
Nope. We are looking forward to seeing those kiddos back in school. I'm very anxious and excited for them to come back.
Same here.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.